watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along. And I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving.
Welcome back to our channel. My name is Anne.
And my name is Jeff.
And we are Postcards from Our Golden Years. Oh, I almost forgot. This is little Bella.
Yes.
She's part of the act too. So, today we have decided that we would like to share some information with you, particularly if you're thinking about moving to France and you don't know where to begin as far as looking for a place to live. You know, for most of us who have moved from the United States in particular, or Canada, or even other parts of the world, coming to live in Europe is quite a different thing. In our case, we moved from a 1,600 square foot house
with a 2-car garage in sort of a suburban lot setting in a neighborhood, with the yard around us where we had to do landscaping and mow the grass and all that kind of stuff. We left all of that behind.
And so we came here, we're living in a city, the city of Nice. So it's quite different living here, and looking for an apartment is a challenge. To begin with, before we even talk about apartments, there is a shortage of apartments in a lot of big cities here in France. And that's been going on for years. And ever since the last United States election, when a huge influx of Americans decided they didn't want to live in the US anymore, the problem in finding, or the challenge in finding the perfect apartment just gets harder and harder. When we moved here, and it's almost 2 years now, in April we will be living here for 2 years.
Right.
When we came here, it was already challenging. And we decided that rather than coming here and living in an Airbnb for a few months, we only wanted to move one time. Jeff and I hate moving, hate it with a passion.
It's a lot of work moving your boxes from one place to another.
Also, the other thing to add is that Airbnbs are expensive. We were looking for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. So if we had come to live in an Airbnb to search while we were here, we would have been looking for an Airbnb that was 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. Those averaged between 3,000 and 4,000 euros a month. That's a lot of money. It's not that we didn't have it, but that isn't how we wanted to spend our money. And because we knew it was going to be a challenge to find an apartment, we decided to start looking before we actually moved here. But we couldn't start months ahead. We tried.
Tried to do months ahead, but we were told you have to sort of be ready to sign the lease the day you see that. So that means you got to wait really close to the day you're actually moving.
Right. So what we did was we waited until we submitted our long stay visa application online. We still hadn't had our in-person appointment at that point. Now, we scheduled the two quite a bit apart. We had 3 months. You can apply for your long stay visa up to 3 months before you actually intend to live or move to France. So we applied for our long stay visa in January. We contacted an agency that we used to help us find our apartment. And I'll just tell you right now, it was the Adrian Leeds Group. This is not an ad for Adrian Leeds. We happen to be very pleased with how they worked for us to find an apartment very quick. And they have helped thousands, many, many, many thousands of people over the last, 30 plus years to find new homes to rent or buy in France. But anyway, we knew that when we were coming here, we wanted Adrian Leeds Group to find us our apartment. So around the beginning of February, maybe the end of the first week, I contacted our representative with Adrian Leeds. We had already met with Adrian 6 months ahead when we thought we could get an apartment or try looking for an apartment. And she said, oh, no, not so fast. Anyway, at the beginning of February, we contacted them, we signed the contract, and we said, please start looking. They said as long as we had already applied for our long stay visa so that they could tell landlords and management companies that we were on our way to getting our visas so that we would be authorized to actually stay for an entire lease, that's when they agreed to start searching for an apartment for us.
Now, there's two kinds of leases. There's a furnished apartment lease, which is for 1 year at a time, or unfurnished apartments, which were 3-year leases. But with a 3-year lease, it's basically an empty apartment with no furnishing or anything inside it. And sometimes they don't even have a kitchen in it.
So we were open to either furnished or unfurnished.
Yes.
Okay. So they started searching for us. We had to agree that we were going to sign a lease as soon as they found it. Otherwise, they weren't going to waste their time looking for us. And when you come and do a search here in France, whether you do it before you move or once you get here, agencies are not going to take you out and show you things. You know, back in the U.S., if we were looking for an apartment, we could say, you know, we want to go out and just see what's out there. We just want to get an idea. You can't do that here in France. You have to create a list of all the requirements, what you're looking for, and you have to give it to a realtor, an agency who's going to help you find that apartment. And you have to say to them, you have to be ready with a dossier, a complete dossier, and a guarantor. A guarantor is somebody that will agree to pay your rent if you renege. And for Americans, it's very hard to rent an apartment if you don't have a guarantor. Most of us use a company called Garant Me, which is like an insurance company. You pay an annual fee, which is a percentage of your annual or your monthly rent as an annual fee. And every year that you continue that lease, you continue to pay Garant Me to guarantee your rent. So anyway, Adrian Leeds agreed to find the apartment for us. They found us an apartment within days. Now, because I said there's a shortage of apartments here in France, you pretty much, even though you create a list, I mean, we had a wonderful wish list. We want to live in this neighborhood or this neighborhood or this neighborhood or this neighborhood. We ended up in Nice Centre, which is the central part of Nice. It wasn't first, it wasn't second, it wasn't even third on our list of wishes of where we wanted to live. So the fact that we ended up here in central Nice was guided by the fact that when we were looking for an apartment, this was as close as we could get to finding an apartment that we could be happy in. Is it perfect? Did it have everything on our wish list? No. And the more picky you are, the more you insist that your apartment has to be perfect, the longer it's going to take you to find an apartment. So for us, again, we didn't want to live in an expensive Airbnb for even one day. So we managed to find an apartment that rented, this apartment rented for less than half of what a typical Airbnb would have cost us per month. So for us, we saved money. We could have ended up in an Airbnb paying thousands a month while we hold off until we look for perfection. Not so easy.
So the apartment we found is in a newer part of town, meaning that one of our requirements was we wanted an elevator that went from the ground floor up to the second floor where we live on an apartment.
Well, it didn't have to be the second, but we did want a lift.
But we wanted an elevator within the building. On some of the older parts of town, in the older buildings, you will not find elevators. You'll find like 5 or 6 floor walk-up apartments. And elevator was one of our requirements. So it moved us into the neighborhood where we ended up.
The other thing we wanted was air conditioning, and it was on our apartment must-have list. When it came right down to it, we had to compromise because this apartment didn't come with air conditioning.
The particular building we're in has a central boiler for heating, so there's no ductwork and there's no furnace in our unit. So when we wanted to look at air conditioning, I ended up buying 2 portable air conditioners, which we vent through the sliding doors in the summertime, and they fixed the problem of air conditioning for the months we need it here in France.
And we did a video, I don't think it was last summer, I think it was the summer before when we first moved in.
Right.
Jeff did a video showing how easy it was to install those portable air conditioners. And we have 2 of them, and they work quite efficiently.
So the one went in our living room, and the other one went in our master bedroom, and they worked fine for us during the hot summer months.
And when we had company stay over, we moved the one that's typically in the living room, we moved it into our bedroom, and we moved the other portable air conditioner into the guest room.
Right.
So nobody had to go to sleep at night on a hot night without air conditioning. But the good news is here in Nice, you really only need those air conditioners for the summer months. It does get very hot, but not as hot, believe it or not, not as hot as some parts of the US.
Right.
Or even, I think it was hotter in parts of northern France, Paris, than it ever got here in Nice.
Because we're on the Mediterranean, we get a sea breeze that comes through town most of the time, which makes our climate much more comfortable here.
Right. So we had to compromise on the fact that this apartment didn't come with air conditioning. The other thing was we were adamant that we needed 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. When it got right down to it, there were only 3 apartments that were available that even came close to what we were looking for. None of them had a second bathroom. So again, we had to compromise and take an apartment that has 1 bathroom.
Right. And in France, the bathrooms are designed a little different. The shower and the sink are in one room, and the toilet is in a separate room away from the sink and the shower.
On occasion, you'll find an apartment that has them combined,
Right.
and typically somebody before you renovated that apartment to put them together. But typically,
In some of the older buildings, they
Right.
make the toilet a separate little room.
right, which is good. So we do like that. The only thing we don't like is the fact that there's only 1 toilet room. And if you've got to go to the bathroom and there's somebody in there reading his email and
Or something.
watching videos on YouTube, forgetting that TikTok, there's somebody on the other side of the door, well,
Sometimes you got to knock on the door and say, let's move it along.
as you'll see in the video, I came up with a solution, but he ignores the solution.
Okay.
So in this video, I'm going to walk you through our apartment and show you all of the details in our apartment. What came with the apartment, what things we changed, what modifications we did, what things Jeff did to make the storage and places to put things more efficient. Because after all, this apartment was not perfect. And if you follow our YouTube channel, if you saw the start way back a couple of years ago when we found the apartment, we did post a before and after of what the apartment looked like. If you saw that, you would know that there are quite a lot of changes here that has made this apartment our home, feel like home, more comfortable. And fortunately, Jeff's very creative and a very handy person. I realize that there are a lot of single people, single women who come here. They don't have a Jeff. But there are handymans all over the city, and if you post on some of the forums, you might even find somebody that's used one of the local handymans in the city you move to, and maybe you can get a handyman to come and make some of those changes for you.
A lot of the pieces in our apartment are from IKEA. So we spent a lot of time out at IKEA finding a bed for the master bedroom and storage units and different things like a dining room table and chairs for our apartment. The nice thing about IKEA is we could order it at the store and have it delivered to our apartment. So we actually specified bring it up to the 2nd floor. So some of the pieces they had to hand carry up the stairways to our unit. So when you order things, always have it delivered to the door of the unit.
Right, the door of your apartment.
Yes.
Not the door of the building, because
but
there
the-
is a difference, and they will follow it to a T.
Right.
So that's one little detail we learned early on, not the hard way, because they did ask us,
Right.
do you want it to your building or do you want it to your apartment?
Always say to your apartment.
Now when all of those boxes came, and there was a lot of them, we put the furniture together. Originally, Jeff was going to do it by himself, and there was such a huge load. I was just standing there looking at this stack of boxes, and I was thinking, oh my God, this poor guy, I'm just like standing around. There's got to be something I can put together. So I started opening boxes of chairs, and I figured out that it was simple to put together our dining room chairs and the chairs for our terrace furniture.
Right.
And so he would just come through and tighten everything up for me. So IKEA furniture, don't be intimidated by it. You can do it. You can put it together yourself.
Right.
But we do have friends who have come over since we moved here, and they found, I guess, a handyman type guy that they connected with who put their furniture together. So it exists. You have to look for help. But if you're coming as a couple, putting together IKEA furniture is real simple, because they give you pictures and they give you these little tools.
The tools are in with the packages, yes.
Right, and it was amazing to me that I could put together an IKEA chair, or 4, 6,
Tables,
10 of them,
yeah.
I don't know, whatever. So anyway, I'm going to walk you through the apartment now. I'm going to show you basically a typical day, because the apartment right now is not dressed up for company. This is what you'll see if you knock at the door and we're not expecting you. You'll see, I mean, we're sitting on a couch now that doesn't have throws, but at the start of this video, you'll see when you come into our apartment, the first thing you're going to see is we keep throws on this white couch, because day to day we hang out here. I mean, this is like where we spend a lot of our time in the evening, and we don't want any stains. This couch has to last for the rest of our lives.
And Bella comes in from being walking outside
Right.
with dirty paws, so
Right.
the throws help keep her paw marks off of it.
Right, so you'll see things, you know, my laptop's on the dining room table, and Jeff's sitting in his in the guest room, hanging out in front of his laptop. So this is just life, day-to-day life here in our apartment in Nice. And so, you know, feel free to comment below if you have questions about anything that we did or anything Jeff did. Leave the comments below. Some of the things that we're going to show you in this video, in particular back in the guest room, Jeff has done videos on his own channel showing how he did some of these things. So you can check below the video in our information, all the details. There's a link to Jeff's YouTube channel where he puts some of the step-by-step on how he did things. But anyway, I want you to watch, or we want you to just watch. We'll walk you through the apartment. We hope you enjoy it. Well, here we are. Welcome to our home. Look who's there to welcome us. You come to our apartment any day when we're not having company. I'm going to show you what our apartment looks like when it's just Jeff and I and Bella here at home. Typically, you'll find my computer is sitting on the dining room table, and that's where I edit all of our videos. And this is our dining room. So the light did not come with the apartment, although it was a furnished apartment. The light that did come with the apartment was sort of crappy, so we replaced it. And that big picture on the wall, that is probably the hugest picture that we moved from the U.S. That picture has been with me since the mid-1980s, when one of the people that I worked with back in the U.S. Gave me that when he left the company, and he knew I loved it. It was sitting in his office, And he asked me if I wanted to move it to my office, which I did. And when I finally left the company in the mid-90s, it became part of my collection of art. It's a vintage poster. I wasn't leaving the U.S. without it. I did try to sell it, but nobody was willing to pay what I was asking for it. So that came with us, and our mover packed it for me. Basically just put a crate around it and put it in the moving van and in a container that they combined all of our shipment in. So that came here unharmed. And of course we picked up this Lazy Susan in a store here in Nice, and it works out really great. You can move it all over the table actually, so that if it's just Jeff and I or even company, it's great to have a Lazy Susan. I hadn't used a Lazy Susan since I was a kid, and my mom had one, and she would use it. I think it was on the coffee table. She had a little Lazy Susan, and she'd put little snacks in. But we use it when we have multi-courses or multi-bowls and plates for dinner. So this chest over here was in the bedroom when we arrived here. And we weren't going to use it in the bedroom because we were buying a new bed, and I thought it would look nice here. So the apartment came with this beautiful old antique mirror that's got all kinds of patina. And so now I use this chest for tablecloths and napkins that I brought. And down below, you'll see our fax machine is down there. Typically, when nobody's around, I'll bring it up here. If I'm going to be printing out a whole bunch of things, I just move it up to the top of that cabinet. So this is the perfect dining room. Recently, I'm going to say about 4 or 5 months ago, we bought the carpet. And I should mention that our floors, our marble floors, have heat under them. Jeff was hesitant to get the carpet because he thought, well, we won't feel the heat. But I have to tell you, when you stand on the carpet, it's thin enough carpet. It doesn't have padding under it. It is thin enough that I can feel the heat. So it's like standing on a warm, fuzzy, just a warm, fuzzy carpet. So it's great. Now, we recently, in the last few months, we bought this chest. And this is for shoes. One of the biggest problems we were having when we moved here was shoes. Our shoes, we would take them off when we got home, not because we were just trying to keep the place clean from outdoor shoes. It's just a habit. We come home, we take our shoes off. So the shoes were like stored by the door, and then there were more of them under the couch, and they're all over the place. So we bought this thin cabinet right here, and we keep the shoes that we wear most often right in here. And that way, when we come home, we put our shoes in the cabinet. When we're ready to go out, we stop at the cabinet and pick up a pair of shoes to wear. So this is what you see when you first walk in on any given day when we're not expecting company. The sofa table did not come with this. We bought this at La Redoute, and it's great because the top actually flips open and can make a dining table that's twice the width of this. So we thought that would be great if we had added company. Just recently, we were at Maison du Monde, and we bought this. We were looking for a pouf for extra seating, and we bought this instead. That gives us 2 extra seats so that we can actually pull that out and add it to the rest of the seating in our room. And of course, one of Bella's beds is hiding under there. She likes to hang out over there. Now, here on the couch, you see some throws. The couch is white. We don't want to ever have to buy another couch again in our lifetime. So when nobody's visiting us, we keep those throws on the couch to keep it nice and white. And we even created a rule, mostly for ourselves, no red wine, no dark drinks on the couch. However, we've sort of bent the rule a little bit. And I hate telling company that they're not allowed to drink a glass of red wine on a couch when we've invited them. So I just take a deep breath when we have company and trust that they know. They're sitting on a white couch. So, and I'll show you what it looks like without the throws in just a moment. You can literally go from covered couch to, and just like that, we're ready for company. So this couch was a fabulous purchase. Now for furniture, this wicker chair Jeff found outside by the trash. Somebody was getting rid of it. Here you have people, they may rent an apartment for a few months and buy some pieces, or sell their apartment and have pieces they just don't want to move or can't move. They have no way to move it, so they put it out at the trash. So trash night is a good night if you're a smart, I want to say a smart shopper, but if you're a smart searcher. So, and Jeff seems to have a good eye for picking out things that are usable. And then we picked this up at a shop at the Cap 3000 Mall, this little blue poof. Makes a great ottoman. And the tables we picked up at Galeries Lafayette on, I think the 4th floor is an area called La Redoute. And so they were on sale. Now we bought that sofa table over there. We bought that at the same place. So the wood actually matches these tables. This silver plant stand here is actually a trash can that we have turned into like a giant pot for this plant. So, you know, when you come here, you get creative. That picture actually behind it, Jeff found outside, somebody was getting rid of it, and it works. It's a perfect picture for our living room wall. Now that picture right there, when we were in Santorini this past June, we took that picture. We were on a sunset catamaran ride, and at sunset I snapped that picture, and then we just came back here and I ordered it. It's on stretched canvas. I ordered it online, and it made a perfect addition to our living room wall. So this is a comfortable place for Jeff and I to hang out. Now the couch did not come with the apartment. The couch we ordered from a furniture store that is here in Nice on Boulevard Jean Médecin, and that store is called Cave. And we ordered this because it has the chaise at the end, and then the centerpiece moves in and out to give you almost a full chaise. It doesn't quite come out as far, and then the third piece does not move. And then the back goes back and forth so that you can adjust the top of the couch. It is the most comfortable couch. And once the sun goes down, if we are home for the night, this is where you will find Jeff and I and little Bella. She likes to hang out here too. Hello, little Bella. So this makes for a very comfortable living room. We found the tables. It was a set at a store that appeared to be someplace that interior decorators shop. And I think we spent about 350 euros for, it was like considered a nesting table, I guess. So it was about 350 euros for that, and Jeff carried it home. The rug is also relatively new addition. Looks like it's a little bit twisted here. And this was just another added addition to warm up the living room, even though we have marble floors. And again, when you walk on the hot spots on the marble floor, it's like a nice little present when you find one of those little hot spots under your feet. So anyway, it's a perfect living room and dining room setup, and space-wise, it's great for us. The glass shelves over here came with the apartment. We've just added our little touches. And of course, none of the artwork that's hanging in our apartment came with the apartment. This is actually a gallery print that I bought many years ago, and I didn't want to sell it. I really liked it. And I found this hand, I think it was on Temu, and it was like very cheap. I want to say maybe 2 or 3 euros. So I had to order it, and Jeff took one of the roses from our little ice bucket in the kitchen and added it to that. So it looks perfect right under that picture. This cabinet here came with the apartment. This is a work in progress. When we got it, it had fabric shelves that looked like the back of it, and I just couldn't get into it. So we took those shelves out and we ordered the two glass shelves for in here, and Jeff added a light. There's a light in here somewhere. I think it's one of those pop things where you just push it and it goes on. I could be wrong. Anyway, so right now it's just sort of a hodgepodge of things. We've got some Murano glass sangria collection that we bought in Murano, Italy, and we've got some other odds and ends, things that we've collected in our travels. But at some point, I'm going to do something with this cabinet to make it look more, I don't know, more striking. It's just something that, for now, everything's in there. It's got a place, and we'll just see where we go with it from there. It's a great place to keep our globe at the top, and we have pins, and as we travel, we add another pin or two to our globe, and hopefully that globe will be full of little red pins by the time we end our days. So the TV stand came with the apartment. I don't like it, but it works. We bought the TV. There was a television that came with our apartment. It was a smaller television. It was an older television. We had a real hard time using our Fire Stick with that television. And so we replaced that television, and initially we put that other television in our bedroom, and then I couldn't get it to work in the bedroom, so we moved it to the guest room. And of course we brought our own pictures for the walls. These floating shelves Jeff picked up at IKEA, and it's another place for us to just display little, for lack of a better word, tchotchkes, knickknacks. We didn't bring a lot of knickknacks from the U.S. Most of them we've purchased here, although the photos did come from the U.S. I think we bought this guy here, the wine drinker. I forget where we bought him. But it's a signed piece, an actual work of art. And now our fish. We bought that in Santorini. We have wonderful friends who have an art glass shop in Santorini, and every time we go visit them, we bring home another piece. So we bought this one this past summer, and it is lovely. There's a light inside that changes color. And of course, we have heat through the radiators. So that's a radiator cover that came with the apartment and has the marble top, so it makes it a good place to display our brass and glass fish. We were very lucky with the size of our kitchen. It is galley style, but there's lots of room in here so that two of us can actually work. And when we first got here, the walls were black, the same color as the countertop. I don't like the black countertop because it shows every single mark, but it is kind of classy. However, we wanted to spice it up a bit, and so I found the gold tile actually on Temu. And in one afternoon, well, I guess it took a little bit longer than an afternoon, Jeff covered up the black wall with the little gold tile, and it kind of jazzes up the kitchen a bit, and it's removable. So when we leave, hopefully we'll never leave, but when we leave, we can take it off the wall if our landlord doesn't want us to keep it. So we lucked out. We've got a cooktop that has 4 burners. The only regret that I have is a lot of apartments here in France, they've got the stove against the wall, and the burners themselves are not big enough for a huge frying pan. So sometimes I cook things. I mean, we even have a grill pan that we like to do steaks on. If you're familiar with, like, All-Clad has a giant grill pan you can put on your stove. The burners are not big enough, and so wherever you put it, you're bumping into the wall somehow. So there is that. So you sort of have to adjust the way you cook. Now, when we got here, there was a cavity for an oven. This oven was not here. Instead, the owner had put a little toaster oven in the cavity. It was kind of silly looking. And the toaster oven looked like it had had a fire. There was like black and brown stains. I guess, I don't know whether they even made an attempt to scrub it off. But anyway, I didn't want to use anything that looked like it had already caught fire. So one of the first things that Jeff and I did was we went to a local appliance store here in Nice. It's called Darty. We went over there and we ordered this oven. And it does baking and convection. We haven't even figured out all the things it does. And I believe it's self-cleaning. Jeff insists it's self-cleaning. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure we asked for self-cleaning. But I mean, we've been here almost 2 years, and it's really not dirty enough to need a cleaning. So we haven't gotten that far yet. But he insists it's a self-cleaning oven. So I'm happy to hear that, because who loves cleaning ovens? Certainly not me. So we have lots of countertop space, as you can see. I mean, we can just move things out of the way. Now we have an ice maker that we bought, and we've also gotten a crock pot. And we have that extra space above the cabinet now where we store a food processor, steamer, crock pot. And when we got here, this cabinet was not here. So Jeff went to IKEA because all of this other stuff that's in the kitchen, the owner had apparently purchased at IKEA. So he went to IKEA and he bought this cabinet, put it on the refrigerator, and it gives us lots of extra storage space for dog food and snack food. And then he was outside, and somebody had put this wine rack out for trash. So it's perfect. It fits right on top of the refrigerator and gives us a great place to store extra wine and cold drinks, water. Because here, when you move into an apartment here in France, I mean, space is definitely at a premium. So now the refrigerator is not anywhere near as big as the refrigerator we had back in the U.S. Definitely does not make its own ice cubes. That's why we ended up buying the portable ice cube machine. We started out using ice cube trays. But it's the first refrigerator I've had in many years that has the ability to put magnets on it. So wherever we travel, we're sure to pick up magnets to add to our collection. We have a freezer. Doesn't have a total amount of huge space. We keep our ice cubes in this bin right here. So as we make them, we keep them there. And then we put the ice maker up on the top of the cabinet until we need it again. But it's a great way if we do make some foods, if I make some foods, that is, because I'm the one who cooks, to store them away in these great glass containers with plastic tops. And when we want to make a quick dinner, I just take one of these out, throw it in the microwave. This happens to be a stuffed cabbage soup, a deconstructed stuffed cabbage soup with ground beef and cabbage and tomatoes and rice. And it was really yummy, but we couldn't eat it all at one time, so we decided to put a couple containers away for the future. Now the refrigerator got lots of stuff. Our refrigerator is always full of stuff. And I ended up buying these containers. They make life a lot easier. I mean, here I've sort of got things balanced on other things. But it makes it easy to just slide out what we need from condiments. So I keep the condiments on the top shelf. We have a fruit our produce drawer at the bottom. I also have one of these plastic containers for my vegetables, fresh vegetables, and another one for cheeses, for most cheeses, so that when I want these things, I can just pull them out. And of course, we have a couple of them, one there, with just candy, all kinds of candy. I like to keep the candy cold. I love chilled chocolate. So, and we always have champagne or wine on ice of some sort and fresh beverages. So we have enough space in this refrigerator for at least a week, and if you add the condiments in, for a lot longer. We tend to shop weekly for fresh food with vegetables here in France. With vegetables here in France, you really need to buy what you're going to use for the upcoming week, because if you don't use them, they're going to go bad before you finish them. So we buy as much as we think we're going to use for the week, and when it's gone, it's gone. We go back to the store. Over here, we have a microwave. This microwave did not come with our apartment. There was a microwave here. It looked like a first-generation microwave. You remember those way back in the, I don't know, the 50s, 60s, whenever. I just couldn't deal with it. So we also went out and we bought a brand new microwave. And then I found this cabinet, this metal cabinet that sits here. And we bought that cabinet. I believe the cabinet came from either Amazon or Temu, I forget. And I missed a toaster. So we went and we got this toaster oven at the Leclerc. There's a giant Leclerc grocery store. Oh, many tram stops away, but it's still just a tram stop away. And we bought the toaster oven there. It does have a toaster on the top, but it doesn't do a great job with toast. But there are times when I just want to broil something. And so this is great to just throw it in the toaster oven, heat it up. I'm thinking of replacing it with a toaster oven that also has a built-in air fryer. And then we'll either sell this one or, I don't know, donate it. We haven't figured out what we're going to do. I've just only recently come up with the idea of coming up with a toaster oven that has the air fryer. I just saw somebody else on another YouTube channel was talking about theirs for one of their, I think it was a tiny home actually. So we've decorated the kitchen with some of our photos and art, things that we've collected. That's the I Love You wall from Paris. And we loved that, so it was perfect to go up there. Now, the shelf, the floating shelf, Jeff picked that up at IKEA, and he put that up, and it has really added to our kitchen. It's made it, just really nice. It's a fully equipped kitchen, so everything that we use is right at our fingertips. I mean, clearly, I cook a lot, and because I cook a lot, I like to have everything at our fingertips. We don't entertain as much as we'd like to entertain because it is a lot of work to entertain, but we're ready. I mean, we've got the wine glasses are always here. We've got the knife rack, and, you know, a lot of people, they wonder, should I bring my good crystals? Should I bring my good pots and pans when I'm coming from the U.S.? Well, we decided yes. So all of these glasses that are hanging, these are all crystal that we brought from the U.S. It was our favorite. Well, it wasn't just our favorite. We only had our favorite crystal, so we brought that. And then there are a few glasses up on the above that were in our china closet back in the U.S. that we brought. But we are ready for any kind of cooking, just the way the kitchen is set up. Now, the cabinets below here, they did not come with the kitchen. So this came from IKEA, and they open, you just pull them out. So we've got a place for everything. Because, you know, when you cook, you need a lot of utensils. So I left a lot back in the US and repurchased a lot. But as I said, I brought all of my good pots and pans, and we've got room for them right there. And, you know, we have room for our silverware and other cooking utensils. And I brought some platters that I liked from the US and some pasta bowls that I brought from the US. So we just brought odds and ends. I didn't bring full set of any china or anything. The cabinets that we bought have been a godsend because we have a place for everything, for a complete kitchen. So we have baking dishes and our hand mixer, and I do miss my big KitchenAid mixer, but I don't want to tie up counter space with the KitchenAid mixer. And quite frankly, I don't bake a whole lot. But we're ready for any kind of food preparation and entertaining, and it really has been great to have these two cabinets. It gives us more prep space. Now right here is sort of a combination doggy area. Our dog's cookies are there. And then we have our wine, excess wine here that doesn't fit in the rack above the refrigerator. And this is a champagne bucket that I got back in the US. I think I was in a bar many, many years ago, and I loved the bucket, and I mentioned it to the bartender, and he actually gave me the bucket. So it's been with me for many years. And these roses, they look real, but I bought them on Amazon, and then I just went over them with a blow dryer. And when you apply heat, you just kind of spread them apart. From over here, it makes them look like they're real red roses. So this is sort of our cocktail or beverage area over there. And we've got cutting knives. Now, we did bring most of the knives here from the US. I had a ton more knives that we sold. So this is just a fraction. The knives that have the gray handles, we picked them up in IKEA while we were waiting for our shipment to come with the mover, the international mover. So we needed something, and it took, I guess it took 11 weeks for things to get here from the US. So we needed some knives to start. The landlord had left a couple of knives, but they're really, as sharp knives go, we weren't impressed. So we picked up this wonderful cutting board. I think these two little ones came with the apartment, but we really needed something more substantial. So this is a great prep area, and I can just move this cutting board over to the counter if I want to prep somewhere over by the sink. We have our little coffee station over here. Now, for the most part these days, we're using our French press coffee pot because I can come closest to American style coffee that actually tastes like American coffee if I buy whole beans, grind them with the coffee grinder, and put them in here. And for those of you who miss American coffee, the secret to getting the coffee really perfect is to not grind your beans too fine. If you buy coffee that is espresso, it's too finely ground already, your coffee is going to taste a little bit bitter, kind of like your typical espresso here in France. And so I find some people say, oh, I could never use a French press pot because it still makes the coffee bitter. It's because you've ground your beans too fine. So I throw beans in our coffee grinder. I hold this down. It's very simple. And by the way, this charges with a USB. So I hold this down. It'll automatically stop after 20 seconds. And then I hold it down for another count of 10. And then that's it. If you keep on grinding and grinding, you're going to make it too fine and your coffee is going to be bitter. So if you're concerned about bitter coffee, when you just want a nice big mug of American kind of coffee, buy fresh beans. This is what I buy, Carte Noire, grains classique. And it's a mixture of beans from all the the great coffee making areas, Colombia and all those other areas in that part of the world. And then we just grind them as we need them. Pretty much every morning we do fresh ground coffee. And it's so easy, I mean, why not? So we don't really have to do without our American mug of coffee, because I know a lot of people, they don't want a little cup from the espresso machine. I mean, we started out that way until we bought the French press pot. And you can see I still have some pods here with some Colombian left over. You can buy the pods from Nespresso that it says Colombian, but they're still a little bitter. I just like a nice, robust cup of something Colombian or Colombian-like. And so we keep our mug rack over here, and we have our hot water kettle right there. I mean, we are literally set up to have a very efficient kitchen. Now over here, Jeff put in the under-counter lighting, as you can see, and he picked that up in IKEA. So, and we have that there, and we also have it over here. And at some point, perhaps he'll get another strip and put it under here. But for now, it's just over here. We also bought the metal hooks and things. They came from IKEA too. So you buy the black bar, and then you buy the hooks, and then you buy the different kinds of containers. And this was perfect. It was a dish drain. It wasn't technically part of that, so no, maybe it was part of that system. And this is great for draining your dishes, and it's got the tray right here so that your water doesn't drip on the counter. And then we were in a store here in Nice, and we bought this bread box. Jeff likes it because it says pain. It says pain to him, but really it's pain, which is perfect. So we keep our leftover baguettes. When that does occur, we keep them in there. We found that sometimes we forget they're in there and they go bad, and then the next day he buys another baguette, and soon we've got a pan box full of moldy baguettes. So I've sort of gotten away from putting leftovers from one day in there because I don't want to forget about them. So, and then this is a great place to keep our meds right here in this little basket. Of course, when we have company, I take away the basket so that the counter looks more, I don't know, empty. So we've always got onions and garlic right out there ready to use. And then we have all of these cabinets. Now this cabinet Jeff added. The cabinets that came with the kitchen, there were two of them. This end piece was not here. So again, Jeff found a deal at IKEA and bought that cabinet. And I think, I could be wrong, but there is a place in IKEA here in Nice when you just walk in. Well, you walk all the way in the back to the right, I think. And it's sort of like leftovers, returns, miscellaneous things, and you can get some really good deals. I think some of them may be secondhand. I'm not quite sure of all of the details. Maybe they made all of those qualifications, but he got a good deal on that cabinet. So it gave us an additional place to store things. So the other thing that he put in was this rolling spice rack, which is great. Now there used to be, it was just a little door that opened with some shelves on it. This has been fabulous because it has all of my herbs and spices right at my fingertips, and it just rolls in and out. So we did get a dishwasher. Unfortunately, it's like not one of the top of the line dishwashers. So when I say it's a dishwasher, I use that term sparingly. In order to wash dishes in the dishwasher, you have to rinse them really well. You can't put dishes in here with scraps of food left on them like the modern dishwashers back in the US. But it does wash dishes. So we do use the dishwasher. I probably run it once a week. We tend to wash our pots and pans here and put them right away. And the only things that maybe go in the dishwasher are glasses and silverware and dishes. And then when it's full, we'll run it again. And then we have a nice cabinet under the sink for our cleaning products and extra bags and wraps. The one thing we are disappointed that we don't have, and if you ask most people from the U.S. who have moved to France, what do they miss most? It's a garbage disposal. So although we've been here, it's now almost 2 years, we do miss a garbage disposal, but we've sort of gotten used to scraping our dishes before we wash them. So right around behind the sink here, as I turn around, we've got our recycling bin and our trash bin right there. And so we just come over here with our dirty plates and pop the lid, scrape the plates, and then move back onto the sink for continued washing. So you can see our kitchen is very efficient. There isn't much that we live without here in France. That garbage disposal, I think, is probably the only thing that we're disappointed at not having. We keep our mop right there behind the recycling bin in case we need it. And of course, we have a door that leads right out to our terrace. The other side does open. I'm not going to open it now. And right out here, it's not looking too great because it's wintertime, cold. We have an herb garden. I think Jeff moved some of the herbs that were out here to the back terrace. So typically I have chives. I don't remember. Oh, this was basil, but it looks terrible right now. Our other basil plant that unfortunately moved to the back terrace looks a whole lot healthier. I'm not sure why you left this one out here. And then we have parsley. And I don't think that's an herb. That was something else. I want to say it was a hortensia, which is like a hydrangea. And in the winter, they always look dead, and that'll come back. So we have some plants out here. It's not a great time of the year in Nice to be growing plants, but surprisingly, we do still have some things flowering here. This is our lemon tree. We're hoping, we have 2 lemons on it. We're hoping that the lemons, we have 3 lemons. We're hoping that they will soon get soft enough to bring inside. Last year, we bought the tree. We only had 1 lemon on it. And that lemon was rock hard the day we bought the tree, and it never softened up. These actually feel like they're getting a little softer. And that's our jasmine. And then we come over here. Now we put the artificial grass down here. Normally this table is more centered on the grass. We put the grass down here just to give it a nice finished look out here. And so we have our fig tree, we have clementine tree. This year we didn't get any clementines. And there, if you peek under there, that is actually lily of the valley. And I am surprised that it's already coming up. That's amazing. Normally lily of the valley doesn't bloom until May. So we do have a nice terrace out here, and often we can get 4 people out here. We've got 2 other chairs, and we have some little side tables that go with this set. The set we picked up at IKEA, and it was so easy to put together, I actually put the chairs together. So when you come to France, IKEA will be your good friend. Fortunately, we have a hose. We have a faucet right there for a hose. There is a watering system that Jeff has hooked up in here that we used last summer when we did some traveling. Unfortunately, it started over-watering the plants at one point. He turned it on, or turned it off rather, and I don't think he's had time to actually figure out what went wrong with it, but I'm sure he'll work that out by the time the spring or summer growing season returns.
You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing